this is the greeting of all of the prophets. It is the greeting of Moses. It is the greeting of Jesus. It is the greeting of all of the prophets. Assalamu alaikum, peace be with you all. I'm waving this flag in support of all of you and in support of those who are fighting for their just rights. I am not an Indian, but I am a West Indian. I come from Guyana. We have Hindus and Muslims living together there, interacting with each other, and in other parts of the West Indies also, in Trinidad and other places, Barbados, Jamaica, and so on. We have been living a life of peace and harmony. But India is a place that has been respected for all of these years. A place that all of us look up to. A place where people were living together in harmony. If something happens to that harmony in India, it is going to affect us also in the West Indies, in Guyana and Trinidad. There can be a rift within that community. So what happens in India does not stay in India. It will have its rippling effects upon the rest of the world. And so I'm raising my voice also with all of you so that there be harmony and peace and living together in India. No discrimination against any one group, whether on religious or any other basis. There should not be. The leaders of India should recognize that what they do there can have that rippling effect. And I want to raise my voice to say that, for them to be conscious of that, for them to avoid doing what will disturb not only peace in India, but peace throughout the world. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
My name is Condemn, and I'm a member of Hindus for Human Rights. I'm here because as a Hindu, I refuse to stand by while the Muslim population of India is rendered stateless in the name of my religion. And I'm here to stand in solidarity with the students, with the people from all walks of life across India who have come together to resist the CAA and the NRC and NPR actions the Indian government has taken to target and exclude Muslims in India. When Hindus speak up against Hindutva, we are called anti-Hindu, but we say that Hindutva itself is anti-Hindu and a perversion of our religion's deepest values, as well as on Republic Day, a betrayal of the principles of the Constitution. I just want to say that while there's a lot of cause for fear around the world right now, with the globally ascendant right wing and climate change and the mass migrations that jeopardize us all, there is also room for hope, which I see when I look around me right now and when I read about the largest spontaneous mass movement in India since the first emergency, which is going on right now. And I feel hope when I see how ordinary people stand up, rise up in revulsion when they see their friends and neighbors being rounded up, lynched in the streets, being rounded up and put into camps. When I see that ordinary people have the instinct of revulsion when they see this kind of injustice, I feel that all is not lost.
Yeah!
And that's what gives me hope. Thank you all for being here.
Next is social justice activist and Imam Shafiq Chase. This is Shafiq Chase.
Brothers and sisters, give a hand for a young Hindu activist brother that just stand before me. Please. Shout with me, stop this bigotry from becoming law. Stop this racism. Stop this attempt of genocide against one of the largest minority group on the planet globe. Over 200 Muslim in India. It's one of the second largest Muslim population in the world. On December 11th, the Parliament of India began to pass a CAA
Switch off that other speaker. Switch it off. नीचे वाला. Take off the power.
In December 11th, the Parliament passed a bill, the CAA, allowing minorities from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Pakistan to enter into fast-track citizenship. At the same time, the hypocrisy of this law is that at the same time it's cleansing the Muslim, where it demands that 33 million Muslim from Assam to show proof that they belong in India. It's cleaning a minority from India and bringing in another minority. Does this sound familiar that's happening in the world, in Palestine? It is something that is an attempt where the minister Amit Shah began to call the Muslim termites. This is a page from the book of Germany, where they begin by demonizing a nation, by calling a people cockroaches, and the next thing it gets worse and worse. My dear brothers and sisters, this bill is a pointed act to decide who belongs to India. It is going against the soul of India, which the intent of the early founders of India, they intended for a secular, liberal Hindu state. This is an attempt to make India from a liberal democracy into a Hindu nation. And the BJP party does not shy to let the world know that they want to make India a Hindu nation. This is not what the Hindu faith stands for. Hinduism is a faith of peace, is a faith of tranquility, is a faith of inclusiveness. It is a faith that we know the Hindu religion is one that is inclusive to allow from the day Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated, it was 40 million Muslim in India. Today, because of the Hindu faith, we have over 200 million Muslim in India. We must stop these people to contaminate a faith that is inclusive, a faith that is built upon peace, a faith that is built. I want everyone to know what I'm about to say next. That this country in 2005, for the first time in history, used a religious law to ban a man to enter into this country. His name was Narendra Modi. His visa was exempted. The United States government revoked his right to enter into this country for the first time based upon one law. It was the first time used in the history of this country, the Religious Act. You want to know why? You want to know why he was banned from into this country? Say yes. Yes. I'm going to tell you why. As the governor of Gujarat, he stand there and he saw the worst crime against humanity deemed by the New York Times, by the United States of America, by the United Nations, where 200 Muslim women were raped in front of their husband and in front of their children. And after that, that wasn't enough. They poured kerosene in their mouth and lit them on fire in 2002. In 2005, this government revoked his visa. I want the world to know, I want the BJP party to know that we as Muslims, we as Hindus, we as Sikh, we as Christians, we will stand stand in America at the most powerful podium, and we will use the law of this country, and we will use the voting rights of this country to stop this attempt of genocide. Every one of us will unite until we see a change in the BJP party. My dear brothers and sisters, you can look and Google the interview when Modi was interviewed after the Gujarat situation, and the journalists asked him what he think about this. You know what this man say? The man who is the prime minister for the largest democracy, so-called democracy. You know what he says? He says every action has a reaction. The journalist corrected him and say, Mr. Modi, you're wrong. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. Is this equal where 200 women is being raped? Is this an equal reaction? I want to close with one of the drafter of the Constitution of India. His name was Abinbad. He said, I want everyone to listen, please. He said that democracy is like the top soil of Indian soil. Democracy is like the top dressing of Indian soil. And essentially, India is not a democracy. India is immune to democracy. Ask yourself, is this a long-running agenda that we are seeing that certain hatred is coming to reality? We are here to stop this. What do we want? We want justice. What do we want? We want them to release the 1,100 boys that they arrested and disappeared from Kashmir. We want them to stop the raping of our women in Kashmir. We want them to stop arresting the leaders in Kashmir. We want them to stop this, and we will use this podium of the United Nations and the podium of the power of the United States to stop the BJP. Thank you very much.
I was disappointed but not surprised when I heard about CIA and NRC, because the RSS has been talking about doing something like this for a very, very long time. You know, as I'm sure all of you know, they were founded and modeled after the Nazi Party in Germany. One of their so-called supreme leaders, MS Goldwacher, said in his terrible book, We Are Our Nationhood Defined, that the RSS wants to do to Muslims in India what the Nazis did to Jews in Europe. And now the RSS believes that they are in a position to do this. So we need to raise our voices in opposition. The RSS is such a corrupt and terrible organization that during independence struggle, they said, don't fight against the British. They said, attack Muslims. That's the sort of organization they are. Now they say the people who stand up against them are anti-national. They call those who raise their voices terrorists. But the reality is we know that the RSS is really the anti-national force. They're really the terrorists. They're the Gundas. You see all the big corporates like Tata and Birla, Ambani and Adani lining up behind them. They're so anti-national, they're willing to sell the whole country to the highest bidder. They're selling off the forests, the water to multinational corporations to come in and loot. And so we need to bring the struggle to target these big corporate sponsors of the RSS, because the RSS and their Hindutva agenda cannot exist without the sponsorship of these big corporate houses, without the sponsorship of these big multinational corporations. And so for those of us here in the United States, we also need to watch closely the American companies lining up behind the RSS and BJP. You know, when the Nazis carried out the Holocaust, they did so with the aid of American companies like IBM and the Ford Motor Company and DuPont Chemicals. And too many Americans remained silent.
So when we protest here against CA and NRC and against Hindutva and the BJP and RSS, we also need to take a close look at the American corporations that are aiding and abetting these Islamophobic maniacs. And we also need to look at the American politicians and weapons manufacturers who are growing their relationships with the Modi government. As some of you may know, the Trump administration in 2018 signed a new weapons agreement that allows for all American weapons, including armed drones, F-35 bombers, everything to be sold to the Modi government. And I'm so worried that soon these weapons made right here in the United States will be deployed against Muslims and poor people in India. We saw when NRC was deployed in Assam, how many people, 2 million, were declared no longer citizens. And it wasn't just Muslims too. So Hindus and Dalits and Adivasis need to raise their voices too in opposition to this Modi government and its corporate sponsors. And I've been so encouraged to see all of you here today and to see all the brave people all across India and all around the world standing up in opposition to CAA and NRC. When the Nazis rose to power, when Franco slaughtered so many people in Spain, when Mussolini carried out so many atrocities in Italy and Africa, when the Japanese fascists invaded so many parts of Asia, people stood up around the world against them. And I'm encouraged to see people doing that again, because it's really true what they say. The people united can never be defeated. So power to the people. Inqilab! Zindabad! Inqilab! Zindabad! Inqilab! Zindabad! Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
हिंदुस्तां हमारा हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तां हमारा हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा हम बुलबुले हैं इसकी ये गुलसिता हमारा हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तां हमारा हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा पर्वत से खाता आपस में बैर रखना मज़हब नहीं सिखाता आपस में बैर रखना हिंदी है हम हिंदी है हम हिंदी है हम वतन है हिंदुस्तां हमारा हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तां हमारा हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा गोदी में खेलती है इसकी हजारों नदियाँ गोदी में खेलती है इसकी हजारों नदियाँ गुलशन है जिसके दम से गुलशन है जिसके दम से लश्के जमा हमारा हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तां हमारा हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा
हम होंगे कामयाब. These are the Boston girls.
Sing with us. Everybody sing with us. हम होंगे कामयाब. हम होंगे कामयाब. हम होंगे कामयाब. हम होंगे कामयाब एक दिन. ओहो मन में है विश्वास पूरा है विश्वास हम होंगे कामयाब एक दिन होगी कामयाब एक दिन हम चलेंगे साथ साथ चलेंगे साथ साथ हम चलेंगे साथ साथ एक दिन ओहो मन में है विश्वास पूरा है विश्वास हम चलेंगे कामयाब एक दिन इनकलाब जिंदाबाद जिंदाबाद जिंदाबाद
Thank you, sisters from Boston. Thank you, sisters from Boston. IAMC.
Give a big round of applause.
Give a big round of applause to the sisters from Boston. Woo!
We are against CAA.
Hello everybody, Assalamu alaikum, Sat Sri Akal, Namaskar, everybody. Thank you so much. First of all, one thing, I'm not going to talk about NRC, CAA or NPR or anything. The reason being, even a 3-year-old child in India right now knows what an NRC is, what a CAA is. What I'm going to talk about is here. Look at the diversity we have here. We have Muslims, we have Hindus, we have Sikhs, we have Christians, we have Dalits, we have every person from every walk of life. I represent Indian American Muslim Council, Boston chapter. I'm the chapter president and the board member, and I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to be among all of you. This is New York. This is where the energy comes from. The Big Apple. This is the one, New York City, where everything starts. So thank you so much for coming. One thing I'll tell you, you can observe me right now. I'm wearing shalwar kurta in January, in the winter month of January in shalwar kurta. You know why? Because the Prime Minister of India, who represents 135 million people, says in his speech, identify these people by the clothes they are wearing. I'm proud to wear shalwar kurta. I don't want to dictate him. I don't want to dictate him what I should eat, what I should wear. It is none of his business. India is as much as it is for them as it is for us. This is where it is. Inqilab! Inqilab! Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Brothers and sisters, while I'm honored being among all of you, I'm also quite sad. We are in 2020 and we're still protesting crimes against Muslims. In the last century, Muslims around the world were slaughtered. In Palestine, in Afghanistan, in Bosnia, everywhere around the world where there are Muslim minorities, Muslims were slaughtered. Because we let people of Palestine down, people of India are suffering today. Because we let people in Rohingya and Burma down, people in Kashmir are suffering today. Because we let invasion and war take place in Iraq and Afghanistan, we're paying the price in India today. It's enough for Muslims to be subjected to violence, to be subjected to ethnic cleansing, because the NRC and CAA is nothing but a declaration of genocide and ethnic cleansing against the Muslims in India. I'm a Palestinian, and genocide and ethnic cleansing is not only killing millions of people like Hitler did. Genocide and ethnic cleansing starts with the idea of declaring secularism as the new god, and that the state declares who's human enough to be respected and who is not human enough to be killed and massacred. The NRC and CIA are nothing short of a genocide declaration against 200 million Muslims in India. When the Zionist party, the Zionists came to Palestine, they engaged in a Plan D, which is very similar to NRC and CAA, which is the idea that the indigenous people of Palestine do not respect or they don't deserve to be living as a human being, and as such they need to be expelled. Half of the population, 700,000 people, were expelled, were kicked out of their land to make space for the supremacist Zionist groups. And today Modi is comparing his actions. Modi and the Hindutva are exactly copying what the Zionists have done and still doing in Palestine, which is declaring Indians stateless so violence can be committed against them, so cultural violence can be committed against these minorities, so our women can be raped and our children be lynched. Brothers and sisters, it's a responsibility to all of us here in the US and here today to stand up for everybody, to stand up for justice, to stand up for people in Kashmir, to stand up for people in India, in Bangladesh, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Yemen, in Syria, in Palestine. It's our duty to stand with black men being shot in the streets here. It's our responsibility to say enough is enough. Muslim blood is not cheap. Minority blood is not cheap. And today is the day where we stand together to fight for all struggles, to stand for human beings everywhere in the world. And it's our responsibility to say that this decade is a decade where Muslim blood is going to be stopped from being spilled from China all the way to here. Brothers and sisters, stand together, work together, and make sure that our message is always with the human beings against oppression, no matter where it's being committed. Thank you so much, and may Allah bless you, and may Allah protect our brothers and sisters in India, in Kashmir, and everywhere in the world. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Wahid. I am the Boston chapter. I am the General Secretary. We are here to make a noise so that Modi can listen to this. Amit Shah can listen. We want justice. 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 लेके रहेंगे आजादी. लेके रहेंगे आजादी. लेके रहेंगे आजादी. लेके रहेंगे आजादी. छीन के रहेंगे आजादी. छीन के रहेंगे आजादी. लेके रहेंगे आजादी. अरे खींच के रहेंगे आजादी. अरे खींच के रहेंगे आजादी. मोदी तुझसे आजादी. दिल्ली से आजादी. आजादी से आजादी. अरे जोर से बोलना आजादी. तुम्हें क्या चाहिए आजादी. अरे बहुत जोर से बोलना आजादी. जामिया को सलाम. जामिया तेरी जरूरत को सलाम. अस्सलाम. जामिया तेरी जरूरत को अस्सलाम. सलाम. जामिया तेरी हिम्मत को अस्सलाम. अस्सलाम. AMU तेरी जरूरत को अस्सलाम. अस्सलाम. AMU तेरी हिम्मत को अस्सलाम. अस्सलाम. JNU तेरी जरूरत को अस्सलाम. अस्सलाम. JNU तेरी जज्बे को अस्सलाम. अस्सलाम. जामिया तेरी जज्बे को अस्सलाम. अस्सलाम. Thank you so much.